動いた。貫けインフィニットフレームドラゴン。行くぜレオ。これが俺たちの世界の絆のシャドバの力だ。シャドバすっげー楽しい。
The end. There was nothing left to tell of their story. Producer Yuito Kimura and writer Rintaro Isozaki, who may as well be the same person at this point, revealed they had no plans for a continuation. Fast forward to the end of 2021. A leak from a credible Chinese source said a sequel titled Shadowverse Flame had been in production during the rerun break for a 2022 premiere. A few days later, Cygames officially revealed a key visual, showing a main character named Light Tenryu with 2 new dragons. The smaller dragon is Draconeer, his digital friend or Digifriend for short, while the larger dragon had no name but would later be revealed to be Leve Teen Dragon. Future teasers revealed several more characters who have their own Digifriends attending Shadowverse College, a special curriculum to train new duelists who aspire to go pro. Man, they really weren't abandoning the Yu-Gi-Oh! Clone allegations, where you start on a dueling island tournament arc and then go to chilling out with the crew in the schoolyard in the sequel. It definitely seemed to be the case when the prior series rival Luca was upgraded to a member of the Seven Shadows, the strongest duelist in the series at Grandmaster rank, with the de facto leader, Wolfram Zerga, creating Shadowverse College. Plus, Alice Kurobane would make appearances as a huge idol. These revelations begged further questions after a confirmation on no continuation earlier. According to Isozaki, only after seeing the positive feedback on social media during its broadcast did the topic of a sequel pop up, where they decided to outline their plans for the series. It wasn't just the positive comments fueling this drive, but the criticism against it as well, and took the chance with the follow-up series to improve in visual and dual direction. In my video essay on the Shadowverse anime, I showcased how certain effects weren't communicated properly on the cards. This time around, the series integrated symbols for each effect, such as Rush and Storm getting symbols similar to Ward alongside their sound effects from the game. It aids viewers in understanding the mechanics better after the initial introduction. Speaking of, instead of casting a new player who wins constantly like a pro as a protagonist, the main character of Shadowverse Flame is a total newbie that needs to learn the mechanics, harkening back to the criticism the staff saw, where viewers joked about Hiro constantly winning his duels with a happy-go-lucky attitude. This time around, Light is a blank-faced yet headstrong individual. Additionally, the deck archetypes in the new series evolved to incorporate mechanics from newer expansions. The original series only saw Fairy Forestcraft and Path to Purgatory decks as highlights on high-level gameplay, yet most decks resorted to basic effects like Overflow and Vengeance, which is sort of understandable if you're showcasing each class to explain the core mechanics to new players, but felt underwhelming for existing fans. Now they integrated traits to several cards and expanded the keyword pool to feature a wide variety of decks in the current meta, as well as the physical card game. That's right, a new physical card game titled Shadowverse Evolve was hitting store shelves in Japan, and the anime was a perfect gateway to sell it, just like its forebearers. Except, you know, they combined Shadowcraft and Bloodcraft into Abysscraft, which they didn't do in the anime, but maybe it is due to following the original series, which itself was partially created to market the Champions Battle game, so where was I going with this? Oh yeah, money. Again, although that was the plan, Isozaki desired to tell interesting stories. He even examined his work on the Switch game for inspiration on the themes he wanted to explore. Just like the multiple classes, there exists a multitude of themes in Shadowverse Flame, which I will now discuss. The most obvious one is the seriousness of a children's card game. From the moment we start the first episode, the prevalent theme is seriousness. Many of the characters live life normally without any care in the world. They don't truly have a purpose besides living, at least until Wolfram Zerga sets Light on a path to find his fate. Only then do the students at Shadowverse College begin getting serious. The term serious appears many times as a method characters confront their misplaced emotions directly. Most often they shrug it off and don't wish to address them until something or someone gets in their way. The current predicament at Shadowverse College is Haruma Hareura, the leader of the Shadowverse Aligned First Reaper Club, is dismantling clubs by destroying duelists mentally and forcing them to quit Shadowverse. The Bloodcraft-themed Second Blood Club is technically gone, and the Dragoncraft-focused Seven Flame is on the brink of destruction. No one intervenes on Haruma's rampage, yet continues club activities until the Grim Reaper comes knocking on their door. Well, there is one person who tried to address the crux of the issue, Seira Ikumi, leader of the Havencraft-affiliated Third Feather. Unfortunately, the only person who took him seriously seriously, was defeated and humiliated to the point she retires and leaves the club to her kohai, Tsubasa Takanashi. This sent a message to the student body. When someone gets serious, nothing good comes from it, and they should continue living life with no worries when a large dumpster fire is brewing next door. However, Light will face this head on. He will change Shadowverse College for the better, even though he hasn't played a single game of Shadowverse. After running into the leader of 7th Flame, Itsuki Mitsutagawa, and befriending Subaru Makabe, he joins the club hoping to begin his Shadowverse journey. This occurs in result of Subaru informing Light if he is serious about going pro at Shadowverse. He needs to join a club, and aids Itsuki because he sees him being serious about keeping the club alive. Although Itsuki was literally packing up the club, this act of seriousness rejuvenates all three of them to actually get serious. In order to maintain being a club, they need 6 members, so they concoct an idea to recruit members from other clubs. With this serious idea brewing, Light challenges the Runecraft associated 6th magic leader, Shinobu Miki, to his first Shadowverse duel, and loses. It's clear that history will repeat itself, and people getting serious will only cause harm. Wait, he's challenging the real 6th magic leader, Gentleman, an anthropomorphic hologram rabbit in a dealer's suit, to a duel and expects to win? And he does? And he captures Gentleman as a new member? Due to Light's headstrong nature, he won't let anything get in his way in achieving his destiny. This inspires the other members of 7th Flame to get serious as well. When the viewer first meets Itsuki, you see people walk by without noticing him. Even the footstep-ridden flyer Light returns to him confirms this as someone people walk on, especially being 7th Flame's last member. The club at the bottom of the totem pole. So, when 7th Flame tries to recruit Ren Kazamatsuri from the Swordcraft-led 5th Sword, the leader, Tatsumi Raido, disavows the underhanded sealing of his members. Instead of Light dueling Tatsumi, it is Itsuki stepping up to bat due to shared pains of people not recognizing his feminine interests, similar to Ren's male-aligned ones. Through the duel, Itsuki displays seriousness by accepting others and his true self. Then Subaru feels he isn't talented as other students due to previous traumatic experiences, and only plays Shadowverse for fun. When he must face the Forestcraft-focused 4th Wind leader, Fuwari Hahajima, who is as carefree yet caring, he expects to lose to her because he isn't as strong as a club leader and just considers it another game. Yet when Light notices this nonchalant nature when he could win, Subaru seriously duels his heart out with expectations high on him to deliver a message about 7th Flame to the student body. Everyone can be serious. Unfortunately, the final club leader, Tsubasa, disagrees with this. She witnessed firsthand when her senpai Seira got serious against Haruma, and the damage resulting from her loss. As the penultimate boss of this arc, Tsubasa throws away her desires of going pro in order to send a different message about seriousness. You will hurt others and yourself. Light's headstrong nature contends against Tsubasa by using the duel as a mechanism to communicate their feelings to one another. While it may be painful, that is how people grow, and Tsubasa reciprocates those feelings after speaking with Seira to join 7th Flame and get serious. Seriousness as a theme emerged when Isozaki wrote the first series. He wished to write a story with deeper and complex relationships between the characters, but the 48 episode limit reduced those chances, resulting in him saying he wasn't afraid to take the easy route when writing the series. Thus, he used the desire for Shadowverse Champions Battle, where side missions allowed the players to develop bonds with each main character and other members of the cast. As a result, the main element in the Switch game migrated to the production of Shadowverse Flame, where the F in the series also stands for friends, the friendship between the viewer and the character, relationships between the characters, as well as their digi-friends. However, to counterbalance these friendships, each character has an opposite serving as their rival to support them in getting serious. In order to reach their peak, they need to find themselves.
俺たちは最強に挑む
After the Shadowverse College arc concludes, the series gains another subject matter on what I call lost and found. Characters lose an important aspect of who they are and need to find it through playing Shadowverse. This thesis is introduced in the first episode, where a technological tool called the Arc is lost to Arc Ruler, and the goal of the series is to find where the Arc went. A secondary motive is that Draconir lost his memories, and Light promises him to regain those memories, not only to be helpful to his friend, but to determine Draconir's connection to his fate as well as Arc Ruler. Most importantly, what Light lost was his, thus explaining his loss in relation to the theme of seriousness. It doesn't end there, as it occurs through each character as well as their decks and playstyle.
やれることを全力でやるんだ
As leader of 7th Flame, Itsuki wishes to keep 7th Flame alive, but no one acknowledges their existence, leading to him wanting recognition, not only for the club, but for himself. 7th Flame lost their recognition, and as the assumed president, he wishes to gain it back after all the other members left. During the Shadowverse College arc, as the club tried to recruit members, his run-in with Ren helps him understand his position. He relates with her when others do not accept them on their personality and interests, which is why he duels Tatsumi, to gain recognition on being your true self, and that 7th Flame is a serious club. Later, Itsuki clashes with Ryoga Jase, a student who does his own thing and doesn't pay attention to anyone, even his digifriend Demonium. He wants Ryoga to recognize Demonium as someone who is always by his side. During the World Championship arc, he duels Luca, who initially doesn't recognize him as a strong opponent due to not getting serious in their first match. That's until Itsuki strengthens himself in a rematch to finally get Luca's recognition. His deck is based on returning cards to his hand to build up a combo. This is nothing new in Forestcraft, as the most prevalent deck that utilizes this is Roach. However, with the theme of floral animals that matches his interests, it becomes a weapon to misguide opponents, especially with his ace monster, Cosmos Fang, and Digifriend Slade. Using the latter's ability to give the former ambush, which is added outright in the game version, it makes Cosmos Fang untargetable from attacks and effects. Plus, with the evolve effect on returning all cards to each player's hand, this ace in the hole becomes an absolute monster. Cosmos Fang transforms from a sweet-looking Jezebel into a shadowy phantom thief, as if it's Saint Tail herself, returning all the stolen goods. It matches Itsuki's theme of recognition clearly because no one suspects the kind maiden being a notorious phantom thief. After every trick it uses to return cards, it gains attack for each one returned that turn, thus gaining reputation because it becomes a threat capable of ending the game. Just like Itsuki. Contrasting Itsuki's path to recognition is the Obliviousness of Ryoga. Appearing as a rival against Itsuki, the two's interpretation of Digifriends causes a conflict. Itsuki wants his Ryoga to treat his shy Digifriend Demonium with respect, while Ryoga believes both Itsuki and Demonium are weak and don't deserve it. Thus, Ryoga doesn't care about people around him. His motif is about people not matching his rhythm as a musician, and everyone is just noise interfering with his performance. Originally the leader of Second Blood, he ditches Shadowverse College believing the student body is a bunch of preppy brats who can't reflect his tempo. When the leader of a club from the school confronts him, he doesn't care about Itsuki until their duel concludes with a close call, where he gives Itsuki his respect. Here turning oblivious into respect as something he has lost for others, which is addressed with his duels against Wolfram. Ryoga's denial to others, including Demonium, is a response to wanting to fight strong opponents. He wants to fight people who can take risks, go all out, and fight. With this new perspective, we understand why he dislikes Demonium due to this perceived weakness, but once he evolves, Ryoga gains respect for him that Itsuki fought for. Together, the two can play a concert to their heart's content, matching the traits of his cards. Orchestrating a music-heavy Wrath deck, Ryoga deals damage to his leader 7 times to activate Wrath's effect, another mechanic similar to Vengeance. The damage-dealing aspect may reflect his inner turmoil of cutting ties with others, which isn't feasible as a one-man band, especially considering the music deck is themed around either a heavy metal band or a demonic orchestra, which relies on everyone contributing their parts. It may explain his issues with relationships and why each card deals damage to him, as they are technically a solo act. Further, it reinforces his obliviousness towards others, especially Demonium. The interesting part is Demonium receives 2 evolutions compared to the other Digifriends only getting 1. Demonium's first evolution occurs during a duel against Wolfram, where Ryoga asserts he only wants to be battling with the strongest people. Ryoga confirms Demonium's strength in comparison to him, eliminating him as noise so they can stand on the same stage together. It is thematic in that Wolfram is about equality, so Demonium evolving in this duel alongside Ryoga is fitting. The second evolution, Demonium Ultimate Devil, goes legendary due to their bond growing between duels against Himel. Compared to the earlier evolution's effect of damaging the leader by himself, this new one influences the band by granting a leader effect to deal damage to the enemy leader and followers based on taking damage yourself. It helps that Ultimate Devil relies on other followers coming into play and evolving them to activate this effect, finally displaying Ryoga's growth by sharing the stage with others, such as Mikado, due to their confirmed strength he values.
期待も何も 全部俺とは無縁でいい。
Coming up next is Light's number one friend, Subaru, who has lost his honesty. He isn't upfront with his feelings and hides behind a mask that forces him to run away. He appears as a partying delinquent that does his own thing, emerging from expectations from his high-class family, and does not wish to have them placed upon him. In his duel with Furori, he isn't serious until Light and Seven Flame backs him up so he doesn't run away again and goes all out. This is further solidified with his duel with Mimori to be more honest about his feelings. He needs to confront those exact feelings towards his little brother, Kaguya, who is now the son that will lead the Makabe family. Both brothers hide behind a face that prevents an honest talk about their feelings, which is best reciprocated by their ace cards. Subaru wears a mask and Kaguya wears a blind. It is only until they both truly evolve that these limiters vanish, and can confront their personal issues head on. Clearly, Subaru's mask motif emerges from Kaguya Kirasame in Champion's Battle. Both come from wealthy families with high expectations set upon them and hide their true selves behind a mask until they evolve. This is the first of several characters adopting traits from the game into the anime, especially if their cards matching their character. Subaru's deck prides itself on masked figures partying, specifically referencing the Carnival of Venice. It ties into him hiding behind a mask to become a ghost of his former self, where his deck revolves around using ghosts that banish at the end of the player's turn. It is similar to how his family banishes him from the Makabe household and acts like he doesn't exist. Subaru doesn't share this detail with anyone until much later in the series, as he acts nonchalantly about it. This behavior perfectly reflects his signature card, Masquerade Ghost. When a ghost leaves the field, it creates a gargantuan ghost, literally creating a wall around his life points, similar to the mask he puts up to protect himself. When he unlocks the next form of his ace card, Masquerade Ghost Sincere, the card loses the mask just as he did against his duel against Kaguya. He no longer needs to hide behind it, and now can be honest, or sincere, with the people around him, especially his little brother.
いつになったら本気になるんだよ。
Due to the aforementioned familial drama, Kaguya is named as the next head of the Makabes. He believes his brother detests him due to stealing that title and position from him, and doesn't want to see him because of this misled belief. He tries to erase him from his heart, but the pain of being abandoned by his brother stuck with him, and doesn't enjoy Subaru waltzing back into his life after being expelled from the family. Unfortunately, Kaguya was forced into this position, matching his deck's theme of special evolution. Certain cards have requirements to evolve, and cannot use evolution points like most other cards. Since Kaguya needed to grow up and learn how to be head of household as to not tarnish it from an early age, this is his special evolution, something he didn't desire but deemed necessary due to him being next in line, aka meeting the requirements. Funnily enough, his deck consists of banishing opponents' cards as well, so when dueling Subaru, he is indirectly helping him. Somewhat poetic given the Makabe family disinherited Subaru, and it's that banishing that allowed him to meet Seventh Flame and evolve himself. Both brothers support each other until the very end, where Kaguya abandons the Makabe clan and lives with his brother.
今はまだ届かないっすけど、いつか必ずそこまで行くんで。
Similarly, Tsubasa represents multiple facets in Shadowverse Flame. Her introductory arc concludes the club's drive towards seriousness as Seventh Flame's final member, yet continues throughout the story regarding her own personal arc. She aspires to go pro like many other students, but doesn't feel adequate after her senpai Seira left due to Haruma's rampage. Tsubasa becomes stagnant with a fear of losing, but still supports her fellow students when Haruma causes mischief. Thus, when she sees Seventh Flame getting serious, she attempts to stop them, but joins them to achieve her own goal once losing against Light. Afterwards, her duel with Seira reaffirms this in order to not hold back any longer. Tsubasa is now the beacon of light others try to reach, much like how she looked up towards Seira and even Miyabi. Now that she has graduated to a senpai by acquiring Ren and Shion as her kohai, her theme becomes hope. Something that she lost when Sarah left now lies inside her for others. Someone that can remain optimistic with the possibility of shining amongst the stars as a pro player, and one she draws others towards. A true diamond in the rough, much like her deck. Tsubasa runs a Storm Ward Crystallized deck. Crystallize is an effect that behaves similarly to Accelerate, where you can use the card earlier but as an amulet, fitting alongside the gemstone aesthetic. Due to her aspirations in going pro, her flashy plays of Storm and Ward make it so she can attack immediately while protecting herself, just like a gem. Another aspect of her deck is randomness, at least in the anime version of the cards. Tsubasa gets around this by having one other follower to force this effect onto it, or use her signature card, Diamond Master, which forces all random effects onto her. Her ace follower symbolizes drawing attention to herself, similar to her senpai, especially since she is one now. She's a shining beacon of hope that won't let anyone tarnish her light, especially with her digi-friend Wingy by her side. Although the initial form is based off a penguin, the evolved legendary form becomes a crystal-laden swan, referring to Tsubasa maintaining hope with her desire and keeps pushing forward even if trouble comes her way. Unfortunately, the one person she could not share hope with is her teacher, Andrea Sensei.
私の絶望の闇は永遠
Andrea Rondo is a teacher at Shadowverse College and serves as the Shadowcraft 7 Shadows. We spend most of our time with her compared to the other members, excluding Hiro and Luca, obviously. Contrasting Tsubasa's hope, she represents despair. Due to Andrea's mother dying in despair after someone took credit on her project to save humanity, Andrea feels the world is unjust as humans suffer from despair constantly. In an attempt to revive her mother's project in saving humanity, she decides the best course of action is to have humans leave their bodies behind and become digitized. No one will suffer if they are data. No need for emotions when everyone is their own computer, especially when hiding emotions is a key part of Shadowcraft. In my first essay on Shadowverse, I didn't know how to mention each class society specifically and focus on the ones that were crucial to the characters. I didn't mention it during Alice and never brought it up with Subaru, but the Shadowcraft society from Champions Battle still applies to them, yet it is most fitting with Andrea. In the game, the ordeal of the society is people burying their emotions and ignoring them. The members need to learn to address their feelings or their relationships will be tarnished and have no one at their side. Since Andrea drowns in despair, it is fitting to bring up here, alongside her class archetype. Andrea pilots a Burial Rite Reanimate deck. Burial Rite is an effect that activates when destroying a follower from your hand when you have an open spot on your board, and Reanimate pairs nicely to resummon any destroyed follower equal to that cost. Thus, her deck is thematic in her approach and maybe her desire. Andrea's goal is to sacrifice humans, but in turn resurrect them when digitized. So she burial rites humans and reanimates them as something else. Hey, that's actually a good replacement. We say burial rite yourself to our opponents instead of Minecraft yourself. Perfect. Alternatively, it could be wishing to see her mother again. We see this in her final duel against Tsubasa and Ren, where as she gives up her life and descends into the depths below, she reaches out one last time for her mother. Deep down, Andrea longed for connections with others, but didn't truly find it. At least until she met her partner in crime, who fought against the sidekick hero to Tsubasa. During the first arc, we see Ren play a role of cheerleader. Her story mirrored Itsuki, where she enjoyed what people would label masculine, while he enjoyed feminine interests. Growing up, Ren was inspired by a tokusatsu series called Battle Fencer, and repeatedly used the catchphrase, "Courage will always give you strength." However, other classmates didn't enjoy it as much as Ren due to it being childish and masculine. Thus, she was straying away from her passion. Once Itsuki welcomes Ren into 7th Flame, she can shine and be her true self. Later learning her previous club president, Tatsumi of 5th Sword, also enjoys Battle Fencer and can share her passion with him. However, her greatest rival, and friend, would be found in Hina Sinclair, someone else watching Battle Fencer but for one of his arch enemies, Queen Insect. Hina aspired to rebel against the world like the villain and became a huge fan. Ren accepted Hina's love of Queen Insect while Hina rejected Battle Fencer, becoming a conflict of interest, literally. Thus, through duels of Hina, Ren desires to share her passion with others at the expense of herself. Ren runs a heroic deck inspired by the tokusatsu heroes, giving her momentum to move forward and appearing similar to Yu-Gi-Oh! GX's elemental heroes. In the previous video, I mentioned how Champions Battle defines Swordcraft as justice, where their members care about helping others, which matches her deck flawlessly. Combined with Swordcraft's officer commander mechanic, it creates a legion of heroes similar to the Avengers or Super Sentai with a defined leader at the forefront. This deck relies on activating effects when a damaged ally is in play, sort of how the hero arrives at the last second to protect someone, common in superhero stories. Once again echoing Ren's character. During pivotal moments in the series, when her friends are losing confidence, she is the one to jump in and remind them about who they are. Not only being a cheerleader, but a hero. The two most prevalent moments of these being Ren jumping in front of Shion to defend her against Warden's End of the World, and stopping Light before he faces the final boss of the series after feeling uncertain about his own feelings. Ren will always be there for her friends, just like Battle Fencer being there to give her courage as her strength. Unfortunately, there is one person who is damaged that she could not save. Hina.
お前ら正義の味方はいつだってそうだ。自分勝手に正しい意見を押し付けてきやがる。
Desiring freedom as a child due to her parents' controlling behavior, Hina discovered Queen Insect from an episode of Battle Fencer. Contrasting Battle Fencer's methods to form bonds, Queen Insect believes relationships makes one weak, so she wants to do things her own way, resonating with Hina. She wishes to have the same motivation as her newfound idol, so she rebels against her parents and becomes a Shadowverse duelist. Hina adopts Queen Insect's catchphrase, "Aesthetics of Evil," as a way way to live her life with newfound freedom. Yet Gurutu's true heroes, such as Ren, can still impede on that freedom as she doesn't want to be connected to anyone, conflicting with Ren's passion where she wants to share with others, which is unfortunate as Hina's thorny prison around herself stems from her own parents who locked her away from interacting with anyone and maintain Queen Insect's lifestyle of freedom from others, which may explain her choice in cards. Hina runs an insect-themed forest craft deck around her favorite antagonist, Queen Insect, which her ace card, Butterfly Queen, clearly resembles. It matches an evil villain archetype with a bug flare, an ant or bee colony that has a leader alone at the top with many minions serving her. Strangely, her deck receives 3 phases of evolution. Her initial deck focuses on destroying insect larvae to boost other cards. Funnily enough, the amulet card used for this deck is Fertile Land, which is changed to Poison Marsh in her second deck after destroying it. This time, the insect larvae transform into frozen centipedes that reduce the max health of the enemy leader. Upgrading the deck in this way can be seen as Hina revealing her true aesthetics of evil. When we first meet her, it appears as a friendly rivalry over 2 fans, but now she despises Ren. Additionally, the mechanic in limiting the enemy's health can be an interpretation on how her parents restricted her freedom, providing less room to make risky decisions in the game as much as in her life. It's sharing her truth with the ideal hero in Ren, especially when her third deck becomes a Venom deck that builds off each unit to reach her new ace, Lord of Venom. Hina cements her deck as a reflection of her heart she is trying to show others because no one could understand her pain, explaining her aesthetic of evil. Hina is showing her inner turmoil to Ren, who believes she can surpass the pain through understanding, which is why Ren tries to save her in the end, yet.
悪の美学は散りざまだ。もう二度と遅れんなよ、ヒーロー。
Hina left one final venomous bite on Ren, a wound in her heart, something that would stick with her forever. The fact that Ren, a hero, couldn't save someone. Even though much like her heroic deck, Ren tried her best to rescue the damaged Hina. Together, their personalities and decks complement one another due to Hina's cards inflicting damage while Ren's followers benefit from it. But in the end, they could never see eye to eye.
僕は一人で。
Maintaining this theme of connection is the reclusive and shy Shion who has lost herself. This is both in the physical and the ethereal sense. Initially introduced as the virtual avatar gentleman, Shion hides behind this persona to lead Sixth Magic. She attempts to inform the members on their best method to playing the game, but they decline due to her arrogant and controlling behavior. Some of these traits appear inspired by Rei Saotome from Champion's Battle, where club members leave after receiving controlling advice. This situation forces her to leave Shinobu as the figurehead while ordering commands via gentleman, resulting in a barrier of communication between the two on their actual feelings. The fact she uses gentleman, an avatar completely opposite to herself, can be seen as her losing herself. She believes people do not like her, which is why she hides away in her room, rarely going outside except to the arcade. Shion can't associate with anyone except herself as gentleman, becoming an empty husk scared to explore the world, which is why her rival, Warden Craft, sees potential in her only as a means to further his own goal. He leaves earworms of disassociation for Shion to distance herself from her friends, believing she should be alone due to harboring these negative feelings. Warden is purposely playing 4D chess against Shion to get this way, just like her deck. All of Shion's follower cards represent a chess piece, and assisting spells reference moves in the game. Some fans dislike her chess deck due to it not feeling like runecraft, and believe swordcraft is more appropriate due to the class having chess-related cards already, as well as referencing other games. However, given it needs to build up a counter for each piece lost as the game progresses, behaving similarly to runecraft's spell boost effect, I think it is appropriate, especially given Shion's theme. Her ace card is Mystic King, possessing the anime-only effect of once it's destroyed, the player loses the game, just like in chess. So once that card is gone, she has nothing, not even herself. However, when Shion learns that she needs people, her playstyle evolves to have other pieces support her in defeating Warden, especially when her digifriend Milady evolves into Majestic Empress, allowing her pawns to attack 6 times in the final battle with Warden, 1 for each member of 7th Flame, her friends that made her not lonely anymore. Then there's her counterpart, Warden Craft, who prides himself on his isolation.
答えだけが必要だ。結論だけが全てだ。私は君のそれを聞くためにこうしてバトルしているのだから。
It's his belief that he can only achieve what he wants in life, knowing everything. Unfortunately, his calculations place him at attaining that goal in 140 years, so he decides the next best thing is to find a surrogate to complete his goal for him, thus finding potential in Shion. His character arc focuses too much on himself that he isolates from others. whereas Shion can't find herself until she is with others. He needs to learn that he can arrive at his goal if he works with others, something he didn't consider until Shion countered his misdeeds, where others were helping him from behind the scenes, but he was too self-centered to see that. Something I must praise is how his deck foreshadowed his beliefs. When first introduced, he relied on his ace card, End of the World. The only way to activate it is to wait until turn 13 to reduce his costs, much like his age 140-year calculation having a time limit on his life. Thus, Warden relies on a second win condition by using Tempest Sorcerer to reduce its costs, much like his reliance on Shion to be his successor. Then of course he goes balls to the walls with his Ruin deck, which is supposed to mimic his idol Leon Orange's Portacraft deck. He plays different parts that mirrors Leon's character, but he can't truly become Leon due to their different paths.
どんなつもりだってどうでもいい。何度も言わせないでもらえるかな。これは遊びなんだ。
We now arrive at the president of Shadowverse College, Mikado Shirogane. He serves as Light's rival that constantly teases him purely out of spite against Wolfram, as he doesn't understand the interest in a weak nobody. Mikado's superiority complex emerges from defeating even talented adults and doesn't find the world interesting. He demeans everyone as a weakling as they do not possess innate talent like him to succeed, which is the only thing important to him. Once again paralleling Rei Saotome from Champion's Battle. To Rei, he found Shadowverse fun only when he wins, thus fueling his drive to win and pressure others into doing the same. Meanwhile, Mikado continues winning, yet finds Shadowverse boring. He finds the world so boring with how easy life is for him. No challenge can strike his heart, except maybe defeating the 7 shadows. That might make the world fun for him. Until then, he enjoys breaking people apart since they aren't on the same level, appearing merely as toys and puppets, but with no strings attached. To break this cycle, he needs to experience loss himself, which he eventually does against Light in the World Tournament after several run-ins with him already. Mikado cannot fathom this loss, especially since Light wants to connect with him. He considers it merely a fluke until later, Mikado faces Hero as a 7 shadow with an artifact Portacraft deck, and loses. It's important to note that the win condition of this deck is to win with Saphira, who increases her attack for each destroyed artifact. This card relies on building connections with the people around you. Hero is telling Mikado he needs people to support him, and in turn, support others if he truly wants to find life fun. We first see this change in Mikado when he catches Itsuki after falling against Luca, and is later entrusted to tie the score against the 7 shadows due to this kind act. Then during the Arc Ruler's attack, he partners up with Ryoga, another individual who looked down on others, and forms a bond with him in their duel against Hina. Mikado now uses dueling to communicate with others, which is what Light fought for in their duels, and begins to find life interesting. Mikado's Chaos Neutral deck mirrors his character impeccably. Many of the cards are based on angels, beings that look similar to humans yet transcend them, just like how Mikado views himself, a perfect being far above the weak and fragile humans. However, he has fallen to their realm, utilizing the card Winged Inversion to change an angel follower into a fallen follower, turning light into darkness. Fallen followers have enhanced effects of their counterpart, yet on a switch of a dime, he can turn them back into angel followers once more. This mechanic reflects his personality that portrays a smiling young boy, yet can turn into a sadist, trampling on the hopes and dreams of those who encounter him. Funnily enough, his class is neutral, which are cards any class can use in their deck to support their archetype. One would think he would have the most connections of them all due to this trait, but he doesn't, which may be the point. Mikado purposefully walls himself off from others, similar to Shion and Ryoga, due to them not being as strong as him. In the game, neutral cards usually aren't as strong as class cards, so if you're losing to a neutral only deck, then you may be weak. Unless you were playing during Wonderland Dreams, which focused on buffing neutral cards, then you will know their true strength. Back to my point, he sees no point in allying himself with those that use class cards, not until he gets access to Portalcraft. Although he never uses it in the anime, as a winner of the World Tournament, he can now use that class. It is appropriate because one of Portalcraft's thematic features is to use other class mechanics as it can connect to their different worlds in a sense. When he unlocks Portalcraft, he begins to care and interact with other duelists, allowing entry into those walls similar to this new class.
まあ、俺は変わり者らしいからな。お前のことを理解するために、ここで終われはしないさ。俺のターン、ドロー!
Which brings us to the series protagonist, Light Tenryu, an individual who keeps his promises and pursues his destiny. Light starts out as an ordinary person until Wolfram promises him a fateful adventure, which he accepts. This encounter changes him from a nobody into a somebody, and transfers to Shadowverse College, where the spotlight is shown upon him. After dueling in Shadowverse, he utilizes the game as a communication device to understand his friends and opponents. He routinely asks, "What is your Shadowverse?" or "How do you play Shadowverse?" with the latter referring to people's decks and playstyles, not asking for directions on how to play the game. I mean, he does do that in the first few episodes as a newbie, but you understand his attention throughout the series. Light's focus on connecting with others on their playstyle emerges from his peers finding him weird as a child, leaving him isolated. When Shadowverse comes into his life, he can play with people as weird as him. Funnily enough, his Digifriend is Dragonir, the only one who can speak, whereas the other Digifriends repeat their names like Pokemon. When Light reveals this fact to others, he mentions how he is a little weird like he is, which relates with his childhood and the story overall. As someone who desires connections with others, it would make one think his primary class is something else. You see, early into the series, fans started noticing key details and concocted a theory. Light's main class isn't Dragoncraft, but Portalcraft. The biggest point of contention is that when everyone inserted their phones at the start of the duel, their class symbol would light up, all except Light's, suggesting Dragoncraft isn't his main class. Some pointed out this occurred for Hero as well, and maybe something to do with shared phones, but nothing came of it. Additionally, when attempting to gather memories for Dragonir, each portion is in a cube that resembles the Arc, the item they are searching for, which is a Portalcraft exclusive card. Finally, cementing this theory is that the winner of the World Tournament would unlock Portalcraft as a class, with the winners being Mikado and Light. This led to the massive reveal that Light was the wielder of the Portalcraft legendary card. No one knew this because Leon stole the card and manufactured himself as the wielder instead. Leon alternated the timeline and stole Light's role as a hero. Several clues pointed to this besides the Portalcraft foreshadowing, such as Wolfram giving Light a memory stick with data on it. When he approached the statues of the legendary cards with them buried underneath, the stick absorbed the data as if regaining lost memory, not only for Dragonir to later awaken, but also to help Light regain his memory on what he lost. Additionally, Dragonir's first memory is about his connection to the Tree of Woe, the sign of the world's end due to a keeper. Not only does this foreshadow the Digifriends and Wolfram's eventual twist, but Light's relationship to the class. Keepers have always been Portalcraft, and Dragonir being a creation from the Portalcraft legendary card hints at Light's primary class alongside Arc Ruler. Then, when Light reclaims Arc Ruler, it changes into Arc Light Ruler due to Light remembering his connection with him. Plus, the Portalcraft similarities don't end there. As mentioned with Mikado, it is a class that can transcend dimensions and share similar traits. It applies to Light and 7th Flame. Before the final boss fight, every member realizes Light is just like them. He shares Subaru's mask as he has trouble conveying emotions with his blank face. He wanted recognition from his peers like Itsuki. He wanted to share his passion with the world just like Ren, striving to be serious like Tsubasa, and of course, desiring connection so they aren't alone just like Shion. Light, as well as 7th Flame, embodies Portalcraft as a whole, all leading to what Light lost, his choice. In the game, choose, or choice in Japanese, is a keyword where players choose from 2 or more options on a card. The mechanic gives cards variability in duels to use different effects based on the situation. Choice first appears in the anime as a tease for Light's ace Leviathan Dragon as possessing a hidden power, which is unlocked against Andrea. It cements Light's theme as choice with his repeated duels, especially when he acquires Dual Rage, where he makes more choices to fuse the different forms the Leviathan Dragon possesses. With choice being Light's motif, it is very surprising that Light has no choice. With the Portalcraft legendary twist, it framed the series in a different light. First off, he never got a choice to fight with Hero and the others. Leon took that opportunity from him. When Wolfram learns this from Nexus, he decides to give Light this opportunity. He creates an entire college on a card game carrying the other legendary cards just to rope Light in attending so he can prove he is legitimately one of the world's saviors. Wolfram stops Light dead in the street with the promise of his fate to lure Light. From here, Light just needs to win and reach each milestone until he arrives at Arc Ruler to learn the truth, where he will proceed to face the remnants of Nexus and the Tree of Woe as the sole savior. Light had no choice. Leon took it only for Wolfram to force an illusion onto Light, where society's pressure instigated Light to keeping the hero's mantle. This is the fate Wolfram promised him, meaning he doesn't actually have a choice. Light was always meant to be a hero, and he can't choose to deny that. In a card game, even if we have 2 choices, both options will have the same outcome. It's just an easier or difficult path to reach it. Either you win, or you lose. Unfortunately, Light experienced the latter. In his duel against Wolfram, Light activates Arc Light Ruler's Proof of Truth effect to choose either 1 legendary card from each class, or summon several Omen of the 10 units. Once again, Light chooses the latter, and proceeds to lose to Wolfram, proving the notion that, just like in real life, our choices don't matter. Except, they do. Light could have joined any club, but chose to help Itsuki and join 7th Flame. In the process, he befriended Subaru, Shion, Ren, and Tsubasa. From choosing these friends did his life go down a more difficult path, but all of them were there for each other, always cheering and supporting from the sidelines. Light could have had a very different experience in a different club like Fifth Sword or Fourth Wind, but his goal will remain the same. As the world begins to end, it is Seventh Flame who sticks by Light's side and doesn't pressure him into saving the world. They realize he isn't a hero or a chosen one from his stolen destiny, but an average Shadowverse player like them. They encourage him to do what he wants, what he chooses, and his choice is...
決められないなら僕が決めてあげる。滅ぼしちゃえよ、世界なんか。
I'm kidding. I do love that scene though. Light's choice is to have fun, with the greatest duel of his life on the horizon and a rematch against Wolfram. In the end, his choices did matter. Light learned from those choices to make him the strongest person he can be, and not what someone else wants him to be, just like our final character, Wolfram Zerga.
だが、私は平等と公平を尊ぶものだ。故にやり方は私に任せてもらおう。
Early into the series, Wolfram appears as an omnipotent figure that people revere due to his position in the Seven Shadows and creation of Shadowverse College. He doesn't duel until episode 44, and it is against Ryoga of all people. He touts fairness and equality as his agenda, stemming from being born in a wealthy family, yet befriending an impoverished Harry Smith as a child. Unfortunately, Harry Smith perished in a fire affecting the slums of Wolfram City and felt life was unfair, vowing to fight for equality. He arrived at the conclusion that our world is too imperfect and the best method is to recreate the world by fusing the energy of all beings into one body, making them inherently equal. After learning about his sealed memories and Light's fate, he acts as a moderator of Nexus's power to achieve his vision. However, he's virtuous in that he wants to give Light a fair shot at defeating Nexus, thus creating the plan for Light to attend Shadowverse College to learn about the game and grow as a duelist. This notion of equality and fairness is best represented through his deck. Previously, I said Swordcraft represents justice and helping others. His justice is fairness and equality. Wolfram legitimately believes he'll be helping humanity by using Nexus's power to merge everyone into a single being based on equality. He thinks everyone needs to have a fair opportunity in life as well as in the game. His deck contains Cosmic Knights as a theme, where their effects are based on revealing your cards to your opponent. An important part of any card game is knowing your opponent's hand so you can prevent or counter their next move. In Wolfram's case, he uses the reveal mechanic to give his enemy intel while giving him a strong effect in return, making it a fair game. Additionally, he runs 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse cards that can special evolve when all of them are destroyed to do a one-turn kill on the opponent. They will pair with a Judgment deck, Portalcraft cards perfect for any keeper, which utilizes Armageddon cards to perfect the fairness and equality of the game. Together, the cards send a message that Wolfram is the world's arbiter. He acts as an intermediary to decide fate and isn't afraid to tip the scales of justice in one's favor or another. Bringing us to the overarching theme of Shadowverse, the truth versus the ideals. Flame clearly labels which characters focus on these themes. Light represents truth, while Wolfram represents ideals. Besides the clear objective about Light learning his own truth that was hidden from him, Light maintains in seeing people for who they are. The truth focuses on the details presented to him when dueling others that display their character. The same applies to his own character, where he strives to be his best self, something no one can force him to be. This is best replicated in his decks. Throughout the series, Light runs an armed dragon deck. While key units possess the armed trait, the notable feature is to use Draconic Weapon to force a unit into being an armed follower. We see this with classic cards transforming into armed versions of themselves, or maybe you can say idealized versions, due to them gaining stronger effects. The same applies to the Leviathan Dragon and the choice mechanic. It requires Draconic Weapons to activate its choice evolution, which also applies to the dual forms as well. This deck appears to paint Light as the character for ideals, but once he learns the truth about himself and what he truly wants in life, his deck evolves into the true arms deck. No need to use a secondary card each time to transform them. Light can summon them outright as their true evolved selves. Now running a Portalcraft deck, Light can fight ideals using his truth. On the contrary, Wolfram wishes that the world flourish with fairness and equality, except he is forcing his vision onto the world, his own ideals. A peaceful world with justice for all seems pleasant until the realization that Wolfram will still be controlling the world as a single godly entity. Ideals are in place to guide us to our true selves, which is what happens with Light. They do not exist to become actualized, even with how unfortunate it sounds, since they are glorified concepts. In their final duel, Light breaks apart Wolfram's ideals to reveal his truth. Wolfram wants to meet his friend again and play Shadowverse with him. It is unfair how Harry died, but that does not mean Wolfram can't continue moving forward, ultimately arriving at the thesis of Shadowverse.
みんなのシャドバを
In many interviews, Kimura has stated that the point of Shadowverse is to be a game built on connections, specifically connections with other players. The original game was created to connect players across the world. The Champions Battle game was created to connect generations. The Evolutions card game was created to connect physicality, and the eventual sequel, Worlds Beyond, is created to connect socially. These connections are what Kimura finds fun about Shadowverse, which is why we have Hero's tagline, Shadowverse is fun, because connecting with others is fun. That is the whole point of Mikado's story arc against Light, which is why it is fitting that the last duel of the series is between them. Light was never able to connect with others until he played Shadowverse, and wanted to share this feeling with Mikado, who couldn't connect with others. It is through Shadowverse that they were able to connect and find it fun. The two are interlinked, both the characters and the concept. That is why I explain the meaning behind each person's deck, as it is a reflection of themselves. A side story in the game to promote the anime explores each character's choice in their class. Light just stuck with Dragoncraft because that is what was given to him, while others have their own reasons. Subaru likes the second chance effects of Shadowcraft, Itsuki likes the cute cards in Forestcraft, Tsubasa wanted to follow her senpai's footsteps using Havencraft, Renz enjoys the heroes of Swordcraft, and Shion utilizes the strategy mechanics within Runecraft. Their choice of class helps explain their character, just like I mentioned of Champions Battle, with their decks expanding upon those ideas. The best way to showcase this is through my favorite classes and decks. Personally, I love Shadowcraft due to using destroyed cards via different effects like Necromancy and Reanimate. It stems from my greatest fear in life, death. I know, counterintuitive to like the class plastered with skeletons and zombies when I don't want to die. However, I value protecting my life, which is why my favorite deck of all time in Shadowverse is Nethys Last Words. It fills your board with random minions of different costs and destroys them, so you want them to possess last words to activate those effects. Additionally, since it is random, you can actually construct the deck using specific cards to guarantee those cards being summoned. This is another thing I love with structure. I want to follow a schedule or a pattern to a T. If something messes it up, I get anxious and worry quite easily. It's appropriate her retrain keeps this trait and requires one of each card cost to be destroyed. Given that this deck emerged in the first year of Shadowverse, it rotated out very quickly, being replaced by other higher tier decks. Thankfully, Champions Battle featured this deck, and it was one of the reasons I bought the game. Besides Shadowcraft, I also enjoy healing Havencraft. I use this term to encompass many decks such as Ilana's Prayer, Kel, and Alluvia Academic, where the focus is to heal your leader and provide an effect, usually a stat buff. It goes back to me wanting to protect my life where I will not take any risks. I build a wall to surround myself if I can. Plus, I always play support roles in other games that focus on healing, such as clerics and MMORPGs. So this carries over to these type of Havencraft decks perfectly. Explaining why these decks are important to me allows me to connect with others. While I do play other decks depending on the meta, it doesn't mean I enjoy those decks. I am sure there are some people who enjoy net decking, but if you have made it this far, what decks do you truly enjoy? Then think deep down on why you like that deck and what does it say about you. While I'm asking this seriously, that is what I think Kimura is trying to communicate with Shadowverse and the different properties that exist. We can understand people with what and how they play, which can be rewarding and fun. The numerous cards and class archetypes allow players to make a variety of choices that they can express with themselves. Even in the sequel, Worlds Beyond, whenever that will come out, hopefully soon, they're providing a plethora of opportunities to the players with new mechanics and games, even to the chagrin of the community. Yet it's these choices that matter, as we can communicate in more ways in Shadowverse, whether it be through cards or mahjong. But when it comes to the choice in reference to Shadowverse Flame, it's about moving forward. Every cast member was stagnant in life until finally getting serious about pushing on with their journey. They encountered many choices in the characters they dueled and the cards they played, but the ultimate choice that they had no say in the matter is to do or die.
By one, by one 目の前の無残に砕き散ってたライト The cards are in hands, I play them right 心の隙間に染み渡っていくシャン victory 貫ける Pray to God for the light ahead 恐れずにただ戦い続けて Right now 悔しけりゃ自分を超えたけりゃ